Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to today's class, the introduction to design. We'll be trying to see how we can intensively talk more on design, not just designing, not just normal designs, but seeing how we can learn intensively on how we can approach our designs from my own perspective in this way. So I will be talking, doing a lot of seeing how I can compress everything that I think that will be more beneficial to you if you are a beginner or if you are an intermediate. So thank you for everyone who actually filled the form or who went through the whole process of filling the form. I do appreciate you guys, and I will say thank you so much. Then also, I also find out that most of you are intermediate designers and not just beginners, although we have some beginner designers in in the platform. So if there's anything that you feel that might not be uh, that might not be what you learned, then probably maybe I'll try as much as possible to see how I can explain it in my own perspective. So before we continue, I would just love if everybody could signify if they can hear me. If you can hear me, you could give me a reaction. Then also here, I think we are about. So if we can just introduce ourselves, it will take about I think 5 minutes for all of us to do that. So I think we can start. Uh, Let me start with Abiodun Omoni. Sorry. Then from there, anybody can also unmute his mic and introduce himself.
All right. Good evening. Sorry, I'm Omoni Abiodun.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I didn't give you a format. Your name, probably if you are a designer or what job or what you are actually doing. If you're a student or anything else.
All right. Okay. So and I'm also a vet doctor.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Mm.
Nice to meet you, sir.
So anybody can unmute his mic and speak next, please.
I'm Vincent Akaba. I'm a student from Ghana.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Vicent.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Sam Victor. I'm a serving corporate in Lagos,
Okay.
and I'm a designer.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Samuel.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Busayo, based in Lagos, and I'm a designer.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Busayo.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatile. I'm a soon-to-be physiotherapist, and I'm also a designer.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so who's next? Okay.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Okay.
So, the University of Ilorin, and I'm also a designer. Even though I'm not that pro designer, but I am at the level right now, so that I consider myself a designer. So that's all.
Okay. Nice to meet you, David. Yeah, good evening, Blessing. Okay, yeah, Blessing, you actually introduce yourself and probably tell us if I think our network went off. Okay, so not to waste anybody's time, we'll just go straight into it. We'll be focusing on the introduction of designs, although some of the things that we might see here might be a little bit new to us, and some of them we might know them already. or I guess some of us might even know everything that we'll be talking about. Just maybe we'll try and approach it from my own perspective when it comes to designing and the software I use. So before we start, my name is Jerry Jihu, and I'm a graphic designer, and I've been a designer for more than half a decade. That's about 6 years, and I'm into mostly flyer designs, branding, and currently I'm learning UX UI. So you could also say I am a designer and a tech enthusiast because I also try as much as possible to engage myself in tech things, tech related things. So I have been designing for, as I said, for the past 6 years. I've taken design seriously for the past 6 years, although previously I've just been passively doing it maybe just to pass out time. I started with my mobile phone using Pixel, then switched over to using computers. So I started with Photoshop. I started using Photoshop that was in 2020, but I discovered Adobe Illustrator that same year in 2020. I decided to do a 365 days of designs using Adobe Illustrator only, and I completed that challenge using just Adobe Illustrator. And within those times, I learned a lot of things or a lot of techniques that Illustrator could do that even Photoshop can do, but it will be more um, manual when you're using a Illustrator. And things when things are more manual, it's more flexible to use. So that's how I switched over from Photoshop to Illustrator. Although I use Photoshop to do designs most times, but I'm just going to probably show you some of the wonders of using Adobe Illustrator. So yeah, without wasting your time, we'll just go straight into the whole introduction to design. So we're going to define. We're going to talk more on theories in this. Then at the later end of the class, we're also going to focus on the practical aspects on this. Sorry for the whole any other thing that is there because I just had to look for a template to get things sorted out in a short time. So design is not just about making things look nice; it's about communication and problem solving and functionality. So, the definition of graphic design is an art and a practice of visual communication. It involves the use of various visual elements such as images, typography, colors to convey your message and or information effectively. Graphic designers utilize their creativities and technical skills to solve visual problems and create visually appealing designs across various mediums. So, it's a practice um most times how I most times define it is that it's a practice of art and science that involves you using your creative skills or your creative ideas to convey a message and solve a problem. So for me, that's my own summary of what a graphic designer is or what graphic design is. So in that context, we have it defined. So why graphic design matters is that first it makes an impression. When you are designing, you are either making an impression, so it's either design is often the first thing people notice most times when they see an art or when they see a print or anything that they can come across in. The first thing is that there's an impression that is being given. So it's either it's for the use of maybe campaigns. So they have different uses of why designs do exist. So good designs also build trust. We also have emotional connections, and is also used in marketing. So these are just why designs do matter. Now, an overview of design elements. I'll just run through the whole design elements. I have a course on this, but I'm just going to run through design elements. We have things that, when it comes to design, we have things that are called the principles of designs and things that are called the elements of design. I'm just going to talk about the elements of design. I will use my just verbally just say the principles of designs, and from there we'll just continue. So when it comes to design elements, they are the building blocks of graphic designs. So as I said, it's the art and science of using images or from using the elements to convey a message and to solve a problem. So we have the elements that are used in creating those appealing or to creating those informations that we want to pass. So the elements are line, shape, colors, textures, typography, and form. So lines is just the movement from here, from one point to another. So it's a 2 point way. Then we have shapes. Shapes can be from 3 points above. So lines are just 2 points. Shapes can be 3 points. So a triangle, a rectangle, and all the polygons are just there. Then we also have text. We have colors. Colors are also elements. They are used to show intensity or to show contrast. So colors do play a role in that, showing intensity, showing contrast, or to show the difference, which is also called contrast. Now, texture is to give it a feel. Most times, textures and colors. Most times do with feelings also. Typography can do that too, but it's a little bit more advanced and more tricky when it comes to using typography. So typography can is the main um how do I say it? When it comes to if you we're talking about systems or talking about computers, there is a motherboard and there are components on the motherboard. So for me, typography is mainly the motherboard um of like it's the biggest component on the motherboard when it comes to designing. I wouldn't say it's the motherboard because if you say it is motherboard, there are some arts or there are some informations that do not have text on them, but they do convey a message. And like dancing, they are different. These are different arts and stuff. But we are talking about graphic design here, so typography is a very big component when you are designing. Then we have forms. So forms can be either 3D or any kind of form that you kind of have like that. So they
I'm not hearing
consist.
anything.
Okay. Can anybody hear me apart from Troops? I don't know. She said she's not hearing me.
But
Okay, everybody's hearing me. Blessing.
Somebody said yes too. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can hear.
Okay, Blessing. You said you can't
Yes,
hear.
I can hear you very well.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. Okay, thanks. You can mute your
I
mic.
should not
yourself,
hear
so-
yourself.
Okay.
Please the call
Blessing,
and
you can
join.
mute your mic now. Okay. So let's continue. So we have impactful designs. So impactful designs are visual identities. They can be logos to branding materials to shape the identity of a company or of a product. And impactful designs also have emotional connection. As I said in earlier slides, I said they also convey emotions to using either colors or using either colors or using either typography. So they convey emotions or they have emotional connections between the end user and the person who is trying to pass the message. So they also have a cultural influence. There are certain tribes or there are certain cultures that are being passed. Like there is a culture of luxury. There are some people who identify with a different kind of aesthetics when it comes to the way they live or or the things they do. And because they have those kind of aesthetics, they you have a way of conveying a message when you're representing those people. So when it's more luxurious, you use more of a serif font. That's in typography, more serif fonts, or use colors which is more bold, like black, gold. You could also use colors like purple. So luxurious brands use colors within those range, and also use typographies more on the serif font. Then for sans serif, it's more modern or it's more friendly or soft or something like that. So there are different fonts for different cultures. Different fonts, different colors, differences. So they represent different cultures when you're actually representing those cultures. And we also have current trends. So there are a lot of trends. that are on the market, or there are a lot of trends that are circulating in a lot of places now, and those trends are used most times to go with what is actually in line with the current happening. So there you have trends of things that are going on, even with products. The products do create trends sometimes, and those trends that are being created, they have names or they have titles that have been given to them. So like minimalism, which I do like or I do support every single time. If you are working or you're designing, if you try to be as minimalistic as possible, it will help you to convey your message more clearly. So eligibility for me is a big ups if you're working on any design. Then we have sustainability. Sustainability, there's eco-friendly designs and practices and terms. We have responsive designs and and so on and so forth. And also, still on the current trends, we also have adaptability, things you could also consider. So when you're working, you consider minimalism, sustainability, adaptability, engagements to ensure that you have people and product end user to engage. Then we have innovation. So we have visual representation of traditional designs. As I said initially, the designs could help to convey a culture or beliefs of a particular culture. So it helps in like I said, traditional designs. You could see this looks more of like a retro kind of design. Even this is also a retro kind of design. So you have more vibrant colors popping out, you create a lot of contrast there in this one. Then this is more modern and simple, so it's more minimalistic in the design approach. Okay, yeah. Apologies for the right. Okay, so then we have modern designs. Now this is visual representation of modern designs. They are more simple. They have less text. The text that they do have can be very minute or probably small in sizes. The font sizes are much smaller, and they do convey a particular message. So there are principles to these designs. I'm sorry I didn't highlight that part when I was talking about the element. I'm supposed to talk about the principles after those elements. So the principles of designs, they are mainly four, but they can be expanded to seven. So let me just say there are mainly seven, but you could contrast them to four. There is contrast, which is one of them. There's hierarchy. There is I didn't write those down. So probably I will send you. I will at the end of this I will send a document that will give you the principles, highlighting the whole principles. There are about seven of them. Then we contrast them to four. As I said, the contrast, you have the hierarchy, and you have others, white space, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about that maybe in the question and answer in the question session. So in case you have any questions, you can bring your questions in. So we have types of designs. So for various industries, there are types of designs that you do, or when you're dealing with clients, there are types of designs that you do offer to clients, and each of those designs will have a different um, approach. Yeah, the way you approach it, even in the cost implication, even in the way you handle them, the time frame, the durations, and all those things are things you need to put into consideration when you're working on your designs. We have the brand and marketing. We have branding. We have marketing. We have web. We have editorial designs. We also have motion designs. And then we have the uses of flyers. Okay, uses of flyers. We are going to focus on just trying to see how we could design a particular flyer. I will show you one of the flyers, or the flyer I used to advertise the class or to put out the class out there. I will show you how I'll break it down. Then we'll start from scratch on how I actually made that. Also, I will show you how I actually get some of my images because I've been getting a lot of requests from that of that. Although I was thinking of probably doing that in a separate listen, but I'm just going to talk briefly on how I actually get some of my images, and then maybe you people will see how I do those things. So we have uses of flyers and uses of designs, if I'll say, for marketing and sales, events and promotions, awareness, campaign, brand building, and direct targeting. And for that, we just that's just the end of audit series now. So we'll just jump into straight into Adobe Illustrator. We will talk briefly on Photoshop, but we are going to talk on Illustrator first. And I will also show you where I will actually provide you with the softwares so you could get them downloaded. Then, but I'll do it. There's tutorials on my Telegram channel on how you could install them successfully. So those ones are things that we'll handle, so you don't have to worry on that. So let me open. Sorry, that is not supposed to be out there. Okay, so welcome to Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to go briefly on how Adobe Illustrator actually works. Then we'll talk on how we can also use it. Then we'll also jump into Photoshop. So for the beginners, you are welcome. But the just a brief introduction of how the interface actually looks like. So if you're using Adobe Illustrator for the very first time, it looks similar to Photoshop. There is no much difference, just the tools and the technique. So it is a vector-based software. Now, a vector-based software means that it doesn't deal with pixels; it deals with shapes, and it deals with shapes only. So even the typography is purely shapes, just combination of triangles or curves or polygons or shapes that have different sizes. Like if you want to create a D, let me just before I begin to go on a whole rampage, let me just see how if you want to create the letter D here, all you can get two shapes. You could get a circle. Let me zoom into this. You get a circle, then you could get one of these shapes. That's the line shape. You draw it over there. Then you have the two shapes joined together. You come to the Pathfinder here. I will show you all those ones later. You could split and it becomes selected. You ungroup it and it becomes one shape here. All I need to do Control C, Control F. Then I bring this down and I select the two of them. I use the shape builder to cut it. So I have my letter D here. So as I said, and all you just need to do here is just to combine shapes, have shapes split on shapes or something like that. Just so the elements that we talked about are purely used in Adobe Illustrator. And when you use them here, you get the highest quality. So when you want to go for prints, it's preferred. In fact, anybody that is using Photoshop for prints, I'm sorry for your machine. So Illustrator can handle large prints up to I think about 100 feet, depending on your machine. If you're using a high-end machine, it could handle up to 100 feet above. There are some days I do up to like 50 feet when it comes to using Adobe when I'm using Adobe Illustrator. But you can't do that on Photoshop. The system, the software will crash many times. Now I have this. This is the whole design that I did here. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to tear each part into different components here, so we can have just an understanding of what I'm talking about. So yeah, I hope everybody is following. Please a reaction if you are still following us here. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Franklin. So good. Now this is the flyer most of you guys saw when you actually reached out for the class. This is um the whole interface for Adobe Illustrator. So at the top here, you have the menu bar for all Adobe products. There's always a menu bar. The menu of all the tools of all the tweaks you could do with the software, or the settings you could make, or the preferences you could actually decide to choose. So we have files, edit, objects, types, select, effects, view, windows, and more. For other softwares, it could be different. Some of them, if you're using Premiere Pro, it could be sequence and stuff like that. So all those ones are there. So the menu bar here is underneath the menu bar is the option bar. Now the option bar is options for the tools you are using. So let me give an example. Like if you have a hammer that has a chisel end or a chisel at the other end. So you have the hammer here and then the chisel at the other point. The hammer could have two options. You could use it as the hammer to hitting nails, or you can use it as a chisel to pull out nails from inside, as a chisel or something like that. You can use it to either pull out nails or to hit in nails inside. So that's like the option when it comes to using the tools. Now, by the left hand side is also the toolbar. The toolbar contains all the tools you will need for the workspace you are on. So I'm going to talk. So let's go back to the menu bar so I can be able to talk about the workspace. Now, when you come to Windows, there's something called workspace. I'm currently using Essential Classic in this case. Now, for each of the workspace that you choose to use or choose to belong to, so maybe you're a typographer or somebody who deals with more of types, you could decide to use a typography workspace. Or if you are more of the person who wants to automate his designs, like maybe you're an artist and you already to create a hair or a hair follicle, there is a pattern that you always go through. You could automate it using the automation workspace, and it's more easier for you. Then also the essential. So when you install Illustrator for the first time, you have the essential automatically there. Then for the essential classic is what I use every time because it has a little bit of features on top of the essential. Then we also have for layouts, so you have to be able to adjust or to create layouts when dealing with artboards. We'll talk about artboards. It's also on Photoshop, but we'll talk about artboards. They'll have for painting for people who paint. You have for people who painting who print and proofread and proofs. So people who do more of editorial work would use Adobe Illustrator. So it's very very good when you're using you are into printing, like you own maybe a printing press, something like that. Adobe Illustrator is plus for you. I know most of us use CorelDRAW, but maybe it's time for you to try something new. They also have for tracing. If you are an artist also and you like to trace, or you also do maybe a little bit of construction, you need to be an architect, not this is not an architectural software, but maybe a little bit of an architect. And you need something to just jump on quickly to do an architectural work. Tracing also help you in that. We have typography and we have website design too. So those are the workspaces we have here. Okay, is someone want to say something? Okay. Yeah, good. So I'm going to just reset my workspace, the Essential Classic, so you see how it looks. If you want your workspace like this, you could it automatically reset. So some of the things here just disappeared. Good. So now we have everything explained except for the one at the right hand side. So here we have what we call panels. So this is the property panel, and we also have different panels right here as options. So we have other panels. This is the color panel, the color guard, and we also have for swatches and the brushes and all the ones. So you can go through these ones when you switch to Essential Classic. On top of same on the menu bar too, you also have a shortcut to switch on the kind of workspace you're working on. So you want to quickly jump here and just do that here and then back here. So we also have maybe you want to arrange your documents and you want to have them backed up on cloud or something like that. You could also search this on Creative Cloud, or you could search for tools or things that you are trying to find and you can find them easily. Good. So I think we all talked on the different parts except for the workspace itself. This is like the whole workspace, and you can detach it from the whole part and you can also bring it back. So good. So now let me start reconstructing this particular design. I could zoom out and there are shortcuts. Okay, now so I turned on my keyboard press so you can see any keyboard letters I'm pressing or anything I'm touching that you don't understand. Yeah. So this is a QR code generated from a site. It's pixelated, means that if I zoom into it, it's going to be pixelated at some point. Sorry, yeah. So this is a pixel, so it's pixelated at this point. Yeah. Now this is a vector based. A text is a vector based. So mean if I zoom into it, it will remain sharp no matter how zoomed I get. So it's 100% sharp no matter how I zoom in. As for Photoshop, if you're using Photoshop, if you zoom into a particular there is a limit that you could zoom into. So the aspect ratio or the size of the canvas you're working in will determine how pixelated it is. If it has high dimensions and high resolution, then you will not it will get to a particular level before it gets pixelated. But in Illustrator, a vector is a vector, and you can zoom in 100 times, and it will still be as sharp as it is. So I will keep this by the side. Let me pair it with this. Stick there. Okay, so let's pick it just manually. So I'm holding on Shift to select different shapes together. I can group this Ctrl G, and I can bring this by the side. This is a image. I will show you how I got this. I got this from Pinterest, and I will just probably just run through how it actually looks like. So good. So I created this from scratch. Everything here was created from scratch except the picture, except the image that I'm using here, just this image. Everything here, the background was created from scratch. The whole, even the lights is also created from scratch. So that's how manual you could go with Adobe Illustrator. Now we could bring this by the side, also bring it here. Then this is our background. And we just have a base for it. I like to call it the base. So I'm going to show you how I did this first. And let me zoom out a little bit and then create an artboard here. Now, when dealing with Adobe Illustrator, there are things called artboards. Now, artboards are like the canvas where your images will be placed. And each artboard have different sizes. If you want artboards to have the same sizes, you could either replicate them or you could just copy the exact dimensions for them in that case. So I would just prefer to pick one of these artboards, duplicate it. Although I know the size of it, I'll duplicate the artboard and keep it by this side. So we're going to be working on this artboard, doing the same thing that we did here on here. So firstly, I have my color palette prepared. There is a way I do prepare my color palette, and I'm going to show you how I do that here. So let's come to the top here, and we'll keep this over this side. I will delete this part. So let's say we want to create our color palette. Let me let everything here. I want to create our color palette from this particular design. And we like the colors that are placed on here, but we want to create it, and then we want to see how we can maybe do something different, maybe replicate the design or do something different, or we need to just use the colors right over here. So what we're going to do is we have our eyedropper tool. Our eyedropper tool will be our best friend when doing that. So we'll draw a shape. You can use any shape if you want. We'll draw a shape here. And let's just say by default we have the shape to be white. By default, like black and white, normal shapes like that. So I'm going to duplicate it because there are different color schemes, and the color scheme I do use, or the color technique I do use, is a monochromatic colors technique. There are different techniques. There are tetrachromatics. There are trichromatics. There are also different kind of complementary color schemes or things that you could color combinations that you could use. So I use monochromatic most times. So I have like two colors that have good contrast. Then I create a mono, like a particular color, one particular hue of color. Then I have different shades of it. I'm going to explain it in the color and addition. So if I'm speaking too much BB grammar, don't worry, we'll explain it. If you have any questions, please, you can just write them down. Towards the end of the class and ask your question. So let's just try and rush the whole part so we can be able to finish within the space of an hour also. I don't want to keep you guys. So we have this particular one here. So as I said, monochromatic. We'll just duplicate it for another color which is going to have a contrast with it. So black, good contrast. So I'm going to select the first part, which I want it to be the darker color when it comes to the red. So I use my eyedropper to select red, which I just want to be dark. Or if I want to use the color, I can come to here. I will come to the color meter. Somebody's mic is on. Michael, your mic is on. Mr. Michael. Michael. Okay, let me just mute you. Okay, so okay, let's continue. Now, let me say I want to make this color darker, so I could come to my color mixer and I could drop it here. Now, for some of us, when we open it for the first time, it might just be a grayscale. That's when you have to change it from grayscale to HSB. Now, because I'm using a monochromatic, I use HSB most times. HSB is hue, saturation, and brightness. What I adjust most times is the brightness. So I have one color, which is the hue. The hue is the color itself, while the brightness is the different shades of the colors. So the S is the saturation, or we could also, yes, the saturation. Some people might say they want to call it shades, but it's the saturation. So it's how intense the color is. Then the brightness is how bright or dark the color is. So that's the HSB combination. They have other ones, and CMY, if you are doing print, you deal more with CMY keys, because if you deal with RGBs and you want to RGB is for screen, HSB is for it's more monochromatic kind of combination. They'll have CMY, which is used for print. If anyone just fast. So as I said, actual action, right? So I could decrease the brightness in make it darker there. Then I'll come to this and also select the exact same color so I do not mistake it. Then come back to here. My HSB is on, then I could turn on the brightness to have a brighter color there. So what I do now to create my color palette most times is I do have them blend them. So it moves from the brightest to the darkest, or from the darkest to the brightest in that case. So what I do is I highlight the two of them. I come to object, I come to blend, and I come to make. There's a shortcut for it. The shortcut is Alt Control B or B Control Alt or something like that. Or sorry, Alt Control B or Control Alt E. If you're using a Mac, I think it should be Option Command B. Something like that. We have our colors that we want. Maybe you want extra 2 or 3 colors. We have them in between these colors. So let me just take it up so we can see the spectrum here. Yeah, let's practice here. It's locked. Unlock it. So now we have a spectrum here, but we want colors in between the brightest and the darkest. So what we do here is we select that blend, and then we'll come to what we call the blend tool. You could see that in Essential Classic. So ensure that you're using Essential Classic workspace that we have over here. So you could double click on the blend, you come to specified steps, and then you can change it from 87. It could be any steps. You can change it to 2, and then we have our colors in between. If you want more colors in between, you could also increase, and you have colors within that spectrum. So we'll just be sticking with 2 because I do not like to have different shades of colors. Okay, in that case, we could bring it select this part and bring it in. So what I do to edit this is I just double click and I go into an isolated state, or I isolate that particular shape, and then I can edit the shape without affecting things that are outside. Yeah, so in that case, we'll have that. So we'll have this here, and then once you select the gray, I think that's gray, that's black, then we can also like this, and then we'll come to our HSB and maybe turn on the brightness a little bit. But I could bring it down. We could bring down the saturation so it looks more gray, and select the 2 of them. The code is Control Alt B, and then we'll have the blend. You double click here, and you come specify steps 2, and then we have our combination of colors here. So I'm going to rush down. I'm going to try and rush this whole process. So just to keep it a little bit fast. Now, what we did is that we have a base, which is the main color here. We're going to change. We can right click to show you all the options, the shapes here, and then rectangle tool. We could drag that, and then use our eyedropper tool, which is over here, and select the color that we want. You could also use our align here. In case you can't find that, go to Windows and you see align. So it will pop out the align panel here. You place that in the center, ensure it's placed at the center, also at the middle of your shape. Place this over here. Good. Now, I think this is good. So we have our base color here. We are going to have that same shape placed on top. So we'll say Control C, which is to copy, Control F, which is to place on front or in front. So it's edit. If you go to edit here, you could see Control C, which is to paste, which is copy, then Control F, which is to paste in front. You could paste at the back with Control B if you are using that case. Okay. So now we have the two shapes here. What I want to do is also do the same thing, Control C, Control F. Then I could reduce the size of this. I'll be choosing the brightest part. Remember to just select that using the brightest part, and I'm going to reduce this into like this. If I want to, make it just a straight line. So just to hold the edges and drag it, and you could hold. If you hold on Control, it does it in the other part, so it's like the same. Let me explain again. So if I hold on Control and I click and drag, it will duplicate it. If I want to adjust this part and also adjust this part at the same time, and I want it to be done equally, all I need to do is hold on my up and I click and drag. So it will adjust the shapes and adjust the same. So that's how to get it done. So we have this. We are going to select it with the two of them. So we highlight the two of them, holding on Shift. You select the first shape, then select the next shape. So it highlights the two of them, and you have two of them together. They are not joined or grouped. They are just highlighted together. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the blend tool that I use to create my color palettes to also create a blend from the darkest to the brightest. I will come to object, I'll come to blend, I'll come to make, and I'll have my blend. I come to my blend tool here, double click on it, come to specified steps, and I could reduce it to how I want it to be, like this. So what I do most times, or what I did here in this case, is that you could see the shape right here, but I applied an effect on this particular shape to have it distorted or have it look in a different way. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So if I want, I could check the shapes. I could just double click on it and check what effect I used using the appearance here. You can see I applied a twist and a tweak to it. So let's just go and do the same thing. Now we have this shape. Two of them now are grouped, or you could say they are combined, or if you want to use it, they are grouped. So anywhere one goes, the other one will also follow. What I could do in this case is, if I want to edit this, I will double click and will have that particular shape, grouped shape or isolated shape, isolated. So they are now isolated. So I could move one part separate. I could move this part separate. But I want to apply an effect on this. So what I do is I come to effect, or you can come here to effect, you come to distort and transform. Then you see the different effects one of the effects that I used here in this case. So I used tweak and twist. I think the first one I used was to twist it. There's an angle for your twisting. So I think we bump it up to like 180, and then we'll have that twist already. So you already see we are already getting somewhere. I'm getting the whole vibes there. And I think 180 is okay. We say okay. We also come back to the effect. Remember, you could also come up here to do your effect. You go to distort and transform, then we'll go to tweak. Now, when you apply the tweak, you could see it's beginning to have that funny shape looking. So you could either increase your tweak, your horizontal tweak, or you could work on your vertical tweak. And then we have something similar. So we have this, then you can take it to any any point that you want it to be. You could reduce the size of it. Now, so you could reduce the size of it, or you could also move it to any position you want it to be. So that's how you have. So you double click out of the layer or out of the combined group to come out of the isolated state or the isolated. So when you double click, you see things outside of that shape that are being grayed out. Only the shape that is being isolated will be more colorful or more visible to your eyes. So you come back of it and you see other things that. So as I said, we're trying to replicate what we had, our main flyer design. We're trying to replicate it on this art here. So we have successfully created this, although I think the colors we use here has more saturation. It's less saturated instead. That's when it comes to the color. The video here is more, it's less saturated and more bright compared to this. This is more brighter, but has less saturation. So it's also a win. Now, so I just picked this color from a just from my swatch panel. The swatch panel here, you could also see the color. So let's just pick that color. I think it's already added already here. So pick that color is already added here. We just return that back. So I will show you what I did with the shapes here. So we will come to our shapes here. I don't know. Okay, can everyone hear me? Yes, I can. Yeah, I think I'm good to go. So we'll have our start tool here. Yeah, hello. I think everyone can hear me. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll continue. Um, so we'll have our star tool here. We'll draw a star, and that's the color we are using. You could rotate it, so we'll have the head of it, having this head touch the bottom part of it. So we'll have like this. Then what we do is once it's highlighted, we go to our rotation tool, which is right over here. We select the rotation tool as selected already. You hold on Alt and you click on the point that you want it to be the anchor. So currently the anchor point is here. This dot here, let me zoom in so it's more clear. So we have this anchor point right over here, but we want the anchor point to be here because we want to replicate this star around this new anchor point here. So hold on Alt, then you click on it. So you have a panel that will pop up. And we want it to rotate at an angle of 30 degrees. So it's going to rotate from here and rotate to this side. If you click on OK, it's going to rotate only that one. If you click on copy, it's going to duplicate the previous one and duplicate it on that thing. But I think 45 will be much better. 45. So we'll click copy. So now we have this duplicated there. I think it's 45, I used 60. Good. So just the same thing. You hold on. Remember, it's R for the shortcut for rotation tool. Come back to your anchor point. Hold on Alt, click, and we make it 60. Yeah, good. So say copy, rotate at that point. Then you hold on Control D. Press Control D a number of times that you want it to duplicate, and then you have your shape already there. But let's do for 90 instead. At 90 degrees. And we have it copy, duplicate back there. So we have the shapes, we have them already in a circle. Let's bring it out here and then do our effect on it. Now, the effect I used on that to create this is I used the radar blur. Now, in Photoshop, there's something called also the radar blur. It can either spin or it can either zoom. So in this case, I used a spin radar zoom, a speed radar blur. In this case, so what I do first is I group this to become one shape. So Ctrl G to group them to become one shape. Then I go to effects, or you could find the effects up there too. Blur, there's Gaussian blur and there's radar blur. So I'll be using the radar blur as I said. Click on the radar blur, there's spin and there's zoom, and this is based on how you want it to be. I just usually stick on good because my system can struggle during the whole entire edit, and I'm also trying to broadcast. So in that case, So I could say okay, and I wait for my machine to just respond. How fast the machine is, it will work, do wonders for you. So I have this responded, and it's moving in circles. Now, to have that particular effect that I did, all I did, sorry, so all I did is I Control C and Control F, which is to copy and paste in front. It's still loading because of the effect. It's done loading. So I could hold on Shift and spin. So it spins at 45 degrees. And then I have that there. What I'll do now is to change my opacity, that's the blend mode, change it from normal to screen. And then we have something like that. If instead of that, let's just go back and select everything. Then you group them again. So say Control C, Control F. So that's done. And we could go back to the opacity. Then from the opacity, we are going to change the blend mode from normal to screen. So we have that. Now, I guess it's not as intense as the one that I did. So because the effect that was created here was a little bit higher. So let's change it from 10 to 40. Yeah, so we have that there over there. We'll also do same thing. We have this, also have this, change it to 30. Yeah, so we have that. We select the two of them, then we could ensure that two of them are aligned to each other. I need to brush up so that I'll finish up this thing. So good. So we have it here. We could bring it to where we want it to be on our designs, and then we could change the blend from normal to something like overlay or soft or screen. So that's how we had this over here. So Control C, Control F, then we could change the blend mode to screen also to have something like that. So I think this is like the main part when it comes to creating designs like that. Now, when working on designs, most times when you're working on your designs or any kind of design that you're working on, you need to ensure that when creating your backgrounds from scratch, you need to ensure that there is as minimal distraction as the background can be. The background should have as minimal as distracted as the background can be. I don't know how the English is going to be like, but something like it should be least distracting when you are working on your background. So you should not fight for attention when it comes to the main subject of your design. So like in the initial design that we had sent already, we are going to try and see how we could diffuse that, or we just bring our designs here and just place it at the top in this case. So we have this here, then we have our text. Let me just pick the text and pick, so we'll be able to rush up everything. We have it here. So we have like a design, this, sorry. Place in the front. So we have a design like this. Now, our background is not fighting for any attention. Our background is just there. It's there giving a kind of like it's things happening in the background while we have the main subject in the foreground. So this is the foreground of your design, then this is the background of your design. So ensure that it's less distracting. It doesn't fight for attention as much as your foreground. So your foreground should get the most attention, and it should guide who is actually viewing it. So what gets the person's attention first before what is next, So the first thing you see when you look at the design is that you find this to be the focal point. The man first is the main thing you look at. Then you look at the text. Then after looking at the text, then you look at the QR code because it's like the next thing there. Let me try and get the design out. So we have this now. As I said, we have this. So we have this as the main guy here. Get your attention when we have our text, then we'll have our QR code before you begin to look at the other little details like maybe the phone number or the date. And then we also have other things that could be added, like the small text that are just sprinkling around the whole design. So ensure that your design most times has a foreground and has a background. And your background should not be the focal point. Your background should just make it interesting, like add spice to it to make it interesting. So um, I will just end this. We'll just stop for here. Then I'll make this available to you guys. That's this particular design. I'll make the file available to you guys. Also the software and how to download it also to be available to you guys. So you could see how the whole process goes. So you'll be able to try and touch and break and see if there's anything that you want to understand from the design point. Then in that case, I will also see how I can provide you with the video so you'll see how we did and replicated the same design. And next week we will try and hold a class. We'll try just hold a class for Photoshop only, and I'm going to show you maybe a little bit of trick on how I use Photoshop most times because it's not my number one software. Although I'm very good in it, but not my number one software. Illustrator is what I use most times. So we're going to touch on that. I also make a link available for the next week class. So everybody who is here, you could also put it out to people. I will update the dates for Photoshop, so we'll be able to touch on Photoshop, and we will not go back to the beginning of how to design or something like that. We'll just touch on the main things that we need to focus on. So now the ground will be open for questions. Please, if you have your questions, I will be very delighted to respond to those questions, and then we can follow up from there. I also make the files available. That's the introduction to those ones available there. So if you have questions, please you can raise your hands. Then I will, and then you can unmute your mic. Hi everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. So if you have any questions, please you could.
Okay, I have a question. I just remember I have a question, but then it's not the reason why I'm skeptical about it is because it's not related to it's related to this class, but not directly related to this class. So there was one of your designs I saw on Instagram, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So there's one of your designs I saw on Instagram where there was where there was a hand holding a cross.
Okay.
And I've forgotten the title, the header you wrote on that design. Now, what baffled me about that design was the background. The way it was like it was like blood on. I wish I could send the screenshots.
Okay. I'm sorry, please. Just go through my
So
Instagram.
I really just wanted to understand how you did that background. That's just my own question.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it this the first one? Behold faith. Kind of. If you're seeing my screen.
Yes. There's faith there. I've not seen your screen, but I remember there's faith there. Yes, this design. This is
Okay,
it.
this particular.
This is it.
Okay.
Yes, this particular design. But
okay, it's this similar technique though. Okay, so it's this similar technique that I use. All I just did is like I said, I have two colors. Then I have the shades of this, so you could see that this is the darker shade of red, and this is the brighter shade of red. I in short, I distorted this, also distorted the shape behind it. So if I will probably look for the file, I'll just need to trace the date. I think that's in 2023. I'll just trace the date and I'll probably see if I can get the file. I distorted this, I distorted the one on top, then I had them merged together. that's using the blend. Then also even with this, I did the same thing here. I have a shade of this color and I also have the shade of the darker color at the one. So that's where the contrast actually comes in. The from the brighter to the darker one, that's where the contrast used to come in. So when you do that or you apply that technique of having something that is more bright on something that is less um bright, or something that is less or is darker, you begin to see how you can play with contrast. Um, there's a class we're supposed to hold, a 5 day class, a 5 day intensive class, and it will teach you to cover a lot when it comes to designing like this, having understanding contrast, how you could use ChatGPT also to create your designs, not entirely from scratch, but have ChatGPT, sorry, assist you through the whole process of creating your design. So all those ones are in the class, but later on, maybe at the end of the class, at the end of this class, I'll talk about. It's going to be a 5 day intensive class at the end of the month, and we are going to touch on those ones. So it's going to prepare you for designing. But as I said, it's similar technique. I could just rushly do something like that. Let me just see if I could get that sorted out. So I'm going to be using the start tool in this case. I will just click on it and I'll change the points to 3. So I have that. Most times it's because, let me zoom in. So most times it's because you have things like you adjust this case. Sorry, it can be very tricky at times with this shape. Let me go to polygon and change it to 3. And then I have my shape like this. So I have my shape. Let me scale this up and then I will adjust this point, holding on the alt so it adjusts the end. And I'll twist it. Just turn rotate it to this point. So I'll have this and I'll have Control C, Control F placed in front. I will duplicate that and then I'll stretch it. I'm just showing you how I did that. So I can still remember from 2 years ago. And let me load this up. And then I'll use the darker shade of this here. I use the bright shade of this. Yeah. So what I will make this is like I will reduce the saturation to have less of the color, so it's less intense. So I have these two created. Now I will come to this case and to this one here, and then I will go to distort and transform. I can apply zigzag or I can apply a rough effect. Now the rough effect can be a little bit tricky most times. You just need to know what you need to do. So I'm reducing the details to just be as less detailed as possible. You could also trace it, which will be very manual and very flexible for you. But in case maybe you are in a haste, like most of the designs I do is within the space of 15 minutes and 20 minutes. It doesn't take more than this. When I was designing this, I think it took me like 20 something minutes to do this whole design, the one I posted. So it's not even up to 20 minutes. I think 20 minutes or so, something like that. So we just reduce. You want something fast, you could use the distort and transform. Then you could also come here, do similar things to it. You go to distort and transform. You go to roughing. You change this to 1, and then maybe reduce this one to have less size. So we already have something like this. What we just need to do is select the two of them. Come to your blend tool or use the shortcut Control Alt B, and then we have something like that. So this is how I created the one in front already. All I just wanted to do is maybe scale this out, and yeah, so we have this already created. We could do similar thing for the background to have that in place. So I don't know if it actually answers your question or if it's within what you wanted to know. Like,
Yes, it did. It did. It did. Thank you
okay,
so much, sir.
so, so please, if there's any questions we could tackle. So that means everybody understand what we're talking about. Okay, sure. Sure. Then David, please. You're gonna mute your mic.
Good evening, thank you very much for this. So I dropped the question in the comments, so I'll just go
Okay.
and read it out.
Okay.
So I think
Let me
it's
see.
possible to get a video on how you arrange your interface, like how, let's even call it. You went to research it when we
Yes.
started the class. Yes, is
Yes.
it possible to get a way of how you arrange your, because when I opened it, it was very different. I had to even close it back again because of
Okay.
how it looks. So if you can just
Okay.
help us to like arrange it in this and help us to make a video on it. So I really appreciate that also.
Okay. No problem. I'll make a video on interface. Although I was talking about workspace. It's more of like workspace and dragging of panels. So I'll make a video on that. I will upload that on YouTube by this weekend. So in case anybody is maybe confused on how I achieve from my workspace. So I'll just touch on that. Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right, thank
Sorry, Franklin. Oh, that was 26. Sorry, I wasn't going through the messages. And then yeah, David, the recording is also available. So the recording will be posted on YouTube and also posted on the group. So anybody is interested or anybody that missed could also join in. Okay. So if we do not have questions, as I said, there's going to be a 5 day course that will be happening at the end of the month, February 25th, sorry, 25th of August. So you'll be able to prepare us for September because we might have a challenge in September, maybe a 30-day challenge to put into good use of what we know already, and maybe just seeing how we could replicate. Um, inside. So when we learn, we also do a replication or do improvement. So there'll be like 3 phases in the whole September that will capture we just having so we have design briefs, we have applications, we have improvements, and then we have visual metaphors, something like that. So what we are going to learn is we are going to see how we're going to cover professional flyer designs, not just professional flyer designs, but from the ideas to seeing how we can deliver it. Then we also use Chat GPT to create flyers in Photoshop, um, like how it could assist you. Because the truth is that yes, AI is getting better in creating visual representations, but there is a but. There is still need for human touch to convey that humanity in it. So I'll be showing you how you could start using ChatGPT, then you take your way up to designing in that case. So we also have branding. We also see how we can do it. So we have branding, typography, and layout mastery. Then we also create flyers that sells and also stand out, and also see how to charge clients properly. It will be certificated. So in case maybe you're worried, is there going to be a certificate to it? Even I know the learning is going to be there, but there's also going to be a certificate to certify that you have a very good understanding of the not just the fundamentals of design, but how to design. So it's just like the fundamentals of designs using Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. Then we'll also have feedback and critics sessions during the 5 days of the class. So will be assignments, and then we'll have back-to-back critics. And we also have access to content or exclusive content before they get released to people out, get released to everyone out there, not just people. So thank you guys for staying in. And if there is any questions, please you can reach out to me in my DM, or preferably you can post it on the group, and then I will reply on the group, please. And as I said, there will be a class for next week. We'll start getting prepared for it. I'm sorry for the whole pickup. I got back from work late and trying to like set up everything, and that's why I had a little bit of mistake in my PowerPoint. Yeah, so thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for everyone who shared on their status. Thank you guys for reaching out to your friends also to join us today here. And it's been wonderful talking to you guys, also sharing my ideas or sharing the things that I love to do most times. So and as I said, any questions, reach out to me on the group chat and I'll reply to you. And thank you guys. I will also post the details of the 5-day class at the end of the month. I'll post it on the group chat. So is anybody interested? The person can connect to it or register through that platform, and then we'll have a wonderful time. So thank you guys to everyone. Thank you to Daniel. I'm sorry, to David, to Mensa, to Jessica, to Marian, to Samuel, to Busayo, and to Abiodun, and also to Prime Studios. So thank you for everyone who joined, and I will see you guys next week, and I'll see you on the group chat.